What's happening, HuntLeague community? I am excited to be doing another one of our big league announcements. We are announcing the finalists for the Sweet September League, which is our Archery Elk Hunting League. And to help me do this announcement, I'm going to introduce you to a familiar face inside the HuntLeague community, somebody that was incredibly successful, harvested the biggest bull of his life this past archery season. But he's also the only two-time champion of two-time league champion inside the HuntLeague community. So somebody that needs very little introduction in our circle. Would you guys welcome Garrett Weaver? What's happening, Garrett?
Oh man.
Man, always fun doing this. I love doing these leagues. This league is it counted the scouting stuff that started in June. So you got scouting in June, July, August. We allow some hunts because sometimes sweet September can be, if you live in Utah, it can be sweet late August.
Right.
Do you guys used to start in August in Oregon there, didn't you? Are you now?
Yeah, so they changed it. It's like a shotgun start in September now. So we used to get like the first, sometimes you get the first week or the last week in August, and now you don't get it anymore. So,
It's just
which
sweet
really,
September.
man, I'll tell you, this year it would have been really nice to have that first week because they were cranking right as season started, right before season started. We've actually got my bull on camera before season started in velvet bugling multiple
No
times.
way. No way.
Well, yeah, my buddy James has it on camera, and he sent me the pictures after I killed my bull, of course.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
now that you killed it, he's like, here you go.
Hey, the last year when I was with you in on the bear hunt in August, we ended up taking pictures. We saw a bachelor group of bulls. We took pictures, and then a month later, you ended up shooting one of the bulls that was in that bachelor group.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
We had photos of him on three different cameras, and one of them yours, and then two trail cam photos, and then we killed him 3 miles away from any of those trail cams. So it was just like these guys travel, man, a little bit more than we thought they did.
I love it. So, people that need to know a little bit about you, you are the only two-time league champion. You have won the Western Hunter. You are our first ever Western Hunter winner, and you are our first ever Apex Predator winner, which I think that was the unexpected one last year. It was
Yeah,
kind of the coyote versus the bear, and somebody in that finalist was going to be the first two-time champion, whether it be you or Grayson McBride. But anyway, you've won some pretty dang cool stuff out of some of these leagues over the last I don't know, 2 years. So
I
what?
mean, out like ended. I mean, I was just talking to my wife. I'm like, man, like, what do you need? She's like, I'm like, I don't really know. I've got a lot of stuff now, and it's like, but I can tell you for sure, it's definitely being on this. It's more fun being on this side of it than you are being judged.
Oh
So,
yeah, oh yeah.
I
That
mean,
that side's a little bit nerve wracking. I would say the pressure is a little bit dialed down on the Sweet September League, at least
yeah,
this year. We're not trying to over exaggerate a major prize package, but we do have some really cool prizes that are coming, and some of the judges are going to be from these different companies. So the finalists are going to get to meet representatives here from Loa Boots. Uh, if you don't know, like, these aren't just brands that like we just talk about. Like, these are the things that like we use, and these are our people, man. Loa has been. I've worn their boots for probably about 10 years. Wore the same pair forever. This is my first year with that pair, and put a bunch of good miles. Mile High Game note calls. They are a local Colorado company. I have used their bugle tube, and you can go and watch some of the different like bugle tube like comparisons and whatnot. I know the Elk Calling Academy,
mhm.
Michael, he did a blind test on YouTube where he was like blowing through different bugle tubes and had everybody kind of vote and rank them. And the Mile High Note game called Bugle Tube came out on top of that. And I'll tell you, I love it. It's not one of those mega big, huge tubes. Like, it's big, it's big, but it's
Yep.
not oversized big. You're not carrying, a
I
huge
actually
thunder stick.
got
You're,
mine right here.
dang, you have one sitting there. How come I don't have mine sitting next to me? You've got yours. Yeah. Well, heck yeah. Those are dadgum good bugle tubes.
Yeah.
AccuFire. which we just did you can check out on our YouTube channel, the HuntLeague YouTube channel. Oh, open the wrong part. This is a sweet case, by the way. It's got AccuFire. This is their digital spotting scope, which I'm still getting used to, but it's compact and small. Comes with a viewer, which works as a mirror, apparently. There you are. But this thing goes out to 120x, I believe. I think it's 30 to 120x. You've got your focus right up here. It's got an internal SD card that you can pop in and out. Your batteries are rechargeable batteries. I didn't understand this. I kept plugging in to this USB thinking, well, that's how I would charge the internal batteries. And when I was in Oregon, I was like, man, we can't get this thing to work because I wanted to actually use this on the bear hunt to capture some
Right.
elk there in Oregon, which we did see plenty of. But I didn't realize you don't charge the batteries through that USB. That's an external charger. So if you had a battery brick or something and you wanted longer time with this or you're running low, you can run an external, but you pop the batteries out to charge them.
Cool.
Anyway, super cool device. Bowman's Bowstrings. Will Bowman is a guy, local guy here in Colorado, kind of a legendary, leads one of the lead instructors at archery school, the Rockies. Been building strings of all sorts using all different types of materials. He really like customizes that to like, all right, tell me a little about your hunt. Tell me about all these different things, and then he kind of builds you a custom string. And so he's the man. People come order strings and come into his shop from all over the country because he's such like the dude when it comes to archery equipment of all kinds. Like if you go into a shop, they're doing things in there that like I've never seen. I'm like, what are you doing with this like weird African long like archery type stick? And he knows, I think an addle. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
I
The
I
one
never
that
even.
you like
Yeah, you kind
fling
of
like
spear throw,
yeah.
or I think there's like a weird like hook thing, or like a stick that then throw. It's I don't know,
Yeah.
but
They're wild. I've never held one in person, but I've seen them and they look pretty sick.
yeah, and there may even be some more sponsors by the time we and not that I'm trying to like hold back any secrets or punches, but there's been a lot of people that are saying, man, we love what you're building here. So I would expect to see this Sweet September Archery Elk League continue to grow year over year with a lot of different companies and people that, man, they're excited to partner with us in what we're building. So before we go into the finalists for this year, Garrett, it would be very easy to throw you in as a finalist because you shot the biggest bull of your life this year. Pretty epic bull. And it wasn't just that you just got your bull and it was one and done. You were a part of a monstrosity of harvests in Oregon with I mean,
Yeah.
walking around this circle.
Yeah, so we'll just start with the guy in the middle on the top. That's one of my best friends and lifelong friends and hunting partner, Mitch. And this was actually the first time we got to hunt together in about 6 years. And opening morning, I wasn't even going to go. I wasn't excited or anything because my area was shut down. He's like, "Well, let's just go out and you can't shoot one from the couch, right?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, you can't shoot one from the couch." Like, we haven't done a hunt together for like 6 years. He's like, "Let's just go spend some time together in the woods." And I'm like, well, you can't really say no to that. So we went out and everywhere I wanted to go, there was somebody. I'm like, let's just go into this hole. If no one's parked here, we'll just burn our morning here because I'm tired of seeing rigs. And so it's about a 2 mile hike downhill. And we get down to the bottom, and I'm like, if there's going to be an elk, it's going to answer us in the bottom. And we hadn't seen an elk turd until we got down to the bottom. And we start seeing some fresh tracks, some fresh sign, and let out a bugle and a cow call, and we get one answer, one bugle. And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, dude, we got nothing else to do. I was like, all right, fine. Let's get down we go. And so, I mean, and we were down 2 miles, and the last 300 yards are like steep down into the creek, right? And so, long story short, we get down to the bottom, and I'm like, we've got to be within 100 yards of them. So let's just set up here. And for about 20 minutes, nothing. And so he starts squawking on his cow call and just, doing some things, making some sounds. And then we hear brush popping to our left. And I'm like, oh crap, he's coming in silent this whole time. And it was close to half an hour we've been sitting there. And so I grabbed the bugle. I'm like, you get ready. And I'm like, just find yourself a good shooting lane or a good vantage point. And I took my bugle and my cow calls and I ran about 100 yards away, like the herd was going to bust, trying to bring
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bull in. And and I called for 20 minutes, and that bull hung up at 30 yards and at 60 yards and was just destroyed a tree, and then came in. And then as he was walking away, my buddy finally found a shooting lane and put an arrow in him. And the last bull he had killed was like 6 or 7 years ago, and that was one that I'd rattled in for him or raked in for him. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. But then you've got Bubba, who was an opening day bull. You've got who's right next to him with that 5 point or 6 point. Sorry, Bubba. And one of my main hunting partners right now. My main hunting partner for elk for sure is Brad Powell. He's that giant 325 bull, just a once in a lifetime Rosie. Shot it the same day I did. I wasn't there for that one, and I wasn't there for the one where he's there with his buddy Nick. But Brad's a part of the group, and so we wanted to include those in the collage. And then we've got one of my hunting partners, James, great guy, one of my main hunting partners for elk, and he did
Yep.
that solo bull, as you see there. And I helped pack out 3 of those bulls, and it was a good year. It was a really good year. We should have had a
Heck yeah.
couple more on the ground, but that's just the way it works out sometimes.
That's so fun. Well, give us a little bit of history with your bull. Like, this is a once in a lifetime maybe bull. Like, obviously, like everybody hopes to someday get a bigger bull, but like, man, you shot a giant Oregon Roosevelt bull. So tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about the story. And this wasn't the first time you've seen this bull. There's a little bit of history. So give us a little backstory, and then let's
yeah,
announce the winners for this sweet
sure.
September, or not winners, but announce the finalists. So give us some of the story though. Let's dive into your bull.
Well, it starts with a little bit of I guess my buddies had trail cams up for years, and I'd been hearing about this big 7x6 running across the road. And then finally, Brad's like, "I saw him. He's huge, and I'm gonna put a trail cam up." And then he put a trail cam up. I think he got pics of him 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And then James, Brad's not hunting this area this year, so James put a trail cam up where he had him. And I think they had other pics of him too. But then James started getting photos of the bull, and I just kept hearing about this big bull who's been traveling back and forth here. And long story short, James had the bull on camera, I think in August, bugling in full velvet bugling right on camera. Is pretty cool. And so we're just talking. I'm like, dude, as long as one of us kills this bull, like I don't really care. Like it should be me, you, or Brad. Somebody that knows this bull, who just has been chasing this guy, trying to find him during season
Yep.
for going on 4 years, 3 years now. And it's just like, man, it'd be so cool if one of us got him. And so I'm hunting this spot, and it's not the bull disappeared, gone. We thought he
Yeah.
went over into this one advantage every year. No big deal. We'll never see him again until he's
Yeah.
growing antlers next.
He disappears during season. You know he's not going to be there.
Last year he was a 7x6 off of his right side, and then this year he was just a big 6 point, and he had double tines on his right side every year. And so I'm hunting this spot, and I spot this really good bull. And truth be told, a week prior to this, in that same spot on the same road, I had a really nice 6 point, probably about a 265, 270 inch
Yeah.
6 point. And I ranged his cows, and I saw him coming out, so I pulled back and I shot him for what I ranged the cows, but that was a bad mistake because I shot right under his armpit. And so fast forward a week on that same road, about another 200 yards off that road, I have a herd with a big bull working up to that same road. And I'm thinking, man, there's no way I can beat him to the timberline, but I gotta try. So I ran and sprinted, as fast as I could for about a third of a mile, and then I snuck where I could, ran where I could, and then jogged the rest of the way. And then about the last 200 yards, I'm like, okay, if he's here, he's here. If he's not, I know right where they're going because they go
Yeah.
into the same spot every time. And I'm cresting this little rise, and I'm walking a drivable road. I'm walking this, and I start coming over the rise, and I see ears, and I see a cow on the side of the road. I'm like, oh crap, they're still here. Like I actually beat them to the timber. And then so I knock an arrow, and I grab my rangefinder, and I take a few more steps, and then I start seeing tips of antlers walking towards me. And I'm like, oh crap, this is about to happen. I'm like, he's pretty far away. And then I range him 78. And I was like, oh, he's not that far away. He's right there. And like, I can shoot that far. So I dialed to 78. I ranged him 2 or 3 times. I wasn't going to make that mistake again. And he's broadside. He was just looking around at his cows. I draw back, and I'd already missed the bull, so I'd already had the roller coaster. And I just take a deep breath and I just settle the pin, and I'm just waiting for it to settle, and immediately done. Like, poop. And I'm
There it
like,
is.
oh my god, that felt so good. The bull just doesn't do anything, just kind of runs off 5 yards on the road away from me. And I'm like, how the hell did I miss that?
Yeah, I was
And I'm
like,
like,
did you think you missed when it
I
happened?
thought, I'm like, dude, I know where that pin was. I know the range was
Yeah,
right. I didn't see my arrow. I didn't hear it hit. He didn't really react, but I felt confident in myself and everything in the shot. I'm like, I know everything had to be money. So I walked a few steps as I'm knocking another arrow. I didn't range, and I just put my 70-80 on his
yeah,
back, 70 or 78 on his back, and I just did it again. I'm like, this has to be right. I mean, this looks right. Everything's right. Pin settled right as I settled it. It settled rock steady. Boom. That one I heard hit, and he like did that quick hunch up
yeah.
thing, and then off. Yeah, I'm like, oh crap. And I walked up there and I immediately found one arrow laying right behind where the bull was standing, and it's covered in blood. I'm like, awesome. Like, is this my first or second arrow? And I knew what arrow it was, but I was so excited that my brain was turned off that I didn't realize which arrow it was because I forgot. So
Yeah, yeah. In the
I'm
moment, in the heat of it, it got lost.
like, okay, is this my first or second arrow? And I labeled this one arrow that I tuned, and it was like one of the best arrows I've ever built. All my arrows were shooting dead on, but this one, like, this was the arrow. So I'm like, I labeled it number one, right?
Yeah,
So I'm like, that should have been a dead giveaway. This was the arrow, but it didn't hit my head until I got back with James and a buddy to help pack. And I gave it 2.5 hours. I was so scared that I screwed this up. I gave it 2.5 hours to go in after the bull. And I go back with James and Caleb, and I'm like, dude, it has a number one on the arrow. So my first arrow did hit him. I knew it hit him. And then so I'm like, he still has my second arrow in him, or it dropped out somewhere. And I knock an arrow. I go into the timber. I told my buddies to stay behind until I wave him in. And I'm like, I'm just going to go creep on this bull and see if I can't find him and put another arrow in him if he needs it. And I get about 60 yards in there, and then I see hide. And I put my rangefinder up on it. And then I knock my arrow, and then I'm like, he's dead.
he's dead.
Oh,
He's
he's
dead.
dead. I got him. And I think the coolest part was James and Caleb walking up with me, and they're filming. And James is like, check and see if he has double tines on his right side, because he's like kind of hoping it's not the bull. Like, put hands on it,
Yeah.
like, it's
Nah,
bittersweet.
it was a big bull. It was
Yeah,
probably the
it's
one.
truly like he was excited, but also it's bittersweet. And for everybody involved, because we're not chasing this bull anymore. I mean, he's dead,
Yeah.
and it's just a sobering reality. And I'm like, dude, he's got devil tines on his right side. He's like, you shot the big bull, and I was like, no, and he's like, that's him. I was like, there's no way. He's like, Garrett, you shot the big bull. Like, that's the one. That's the one. I was like, and I started tearing up, and I got a little emotional on that one. I will admit, but we flopped the bull over, and kind of like was like, where did I hit? What happened? And both my arrows were about, oh, I don't know, about that far apart.
Yeah.
Perfect height, right behind the shoulder. And then on the second shot, he was slightly quartered away. So both shots were perfect. The second shot hit the back of the scapula on the offside and broke through.
Yeah.
I've got a picture of that. You could fit a golf ball inside the hole, and that was at 85 yards. My arrow went all the way through that offside scapula, and just the bull was dead on his feet. But yeah, it was an amazing, biggest bodied bull I've ever seen. And
Unbelievable.
I mean, I still get emotional when I think about it when I walk up on them, yeah, if that's the biggest Rosie I ever killed, then so be it, man. I'll die happy.
That right there is a representation of sweet September. That's just what we dream about. Like, that's amazing. And something that, it's not just like, I mean, there's a little bit of luck involved. It's not like you knew where that bull was or those things, but like there's years of seeing that bull and some, really chasing that. So super cool way for all that stuff to come together. Sorry to Brad and James and all those that had high hopes of one day
Brad,
harvesting, but they got their bulls too, and Brad's was no slouch.
Brad came over and he's like, how big do you think it is? I'm like 285, and then he's like comes over and he's like, dude, you're so full of it. And I was like, no, it's smaller. He's like, that thing's way over 300. I was like, really? We started putting a tape on him, and I'm like, he's adding up really quickly, and he ended up being 313. And then Brad's like, dude, you or I will probably never kill a bull that big ever again on the coast. And then that evening, he goes out, and in less than 3 hours, he has an arrow and a bull that's bigger than mine. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen a bull this big on the coast. He's never seen a bull that big on the coast, and we both shot him the same day. It's just amazing.
Yeah, that's
So,
unbelievable. There's Brad's right next to yours there in the bottom middle.
yeah. Brad's
Just
looks like a Rocky. I mean, his
it
just looks like
does.
a Rocky,
The
but
way it
mine's
splits and almost like has those whale
dark.
tails in the back. It doesn't have a lot of those big rosies end up being crowned or something like that, and they get more
Quarter and
matte.
massier. Yeah, mine's just a really perfect representation of what you can expect for a Rosie. Brad's looks like it's just huge. It's and his has great mass and everything. It just mine just has a little bit better mass. But truth be told, Brad's bases were like 10 and 3/4 around, and mine were just around 10. So his actual bases are
Oh
almost an
my
inch bigger than
gosh.
mine. But my bull carried the mass better. So it's really cool. I've never seen a bull that almost has 11-inch bases. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I mean,
truly,
we're talking like
yeah.
that, dude.
It's almost as
Huge.
big as your biceps. I mean, your biceps, you know,
Almost.
almost.
Maybe.
All right. Well, awesome stories. Again, you had an unbelievable sweet September, but you've already won one league this year, and you're just jumping in now, and you're coming in saying, all right, who are the finalists? Who are the people that get to sit in the hot seat and meet with our judges? And we've got three of them that are moving into this final round. So
That's
give
right.
us our top three finalists, maybe a small snippet, and everybody's going to hear their full story. But without further ado, Garrett,
Yeah, so let's
finalists.
start off with actually a guy that I coaxed into getting the app, James Mansanti, Oregon guy, local to me, one of my hunting partners, who didn't need me this year at all. He got it done by himself. Called in this bull, bugled him in like 600 or 700 yards away from a herd, and hunted 20 days straight. Every single day, whether he packed out a bull or didn't, he was out there hunting, helping others along the way, and he got it done. So, congratulations to him. And
Well
then
deserved, man. 20 straight days. That's
20
grinding it out in September, man.
And then for our second finalist will be Wally. And Wally is kind of in your backyard, right? He's a Colorado guy.
Dude, he
Um,
is, and he was hunting the unit that I love to hunt. I skipped out on hunting that unit this year, and I had three buddies that hunted it. Two of them got arrows in elk this year, and Wally being one of those.
That's awesome. And he faced some adversity early on, kind of got sick, came back, and it's like, I'm not done yet. Came back, got that elk right off the bat on that second trip. It sounds like, and put a bunch of meat in the freezer for him and his family, and just did a great job sticking with it. So no excuses, and I love that roller coaster of a season. That just describes September so well. Things don't always go your way, but if you stick with it, you'll get an opportunity. So
Heck
good for Wally. And then our last, but not least, is Josh from Idaho, who killed a bull in Wyoming. So
yeah.
Idaho's a great state. And you want to talk about the roller coaster? This guy had a roller coaster, man. He shoots this bull that you see here, and stays on the mountain, keeps hunting. I think 3 days later, kills the same bull he shot. So if that doesn't sum up September right there, then I don't know what does, man. I mean, that is just full circle as it gets. That's as roller coaster as it gets. He's got his buddies from Washington, which is where he's originally from. And yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful bull he's got there. And there's a lot more to that story that I can't wait to hear.
Yeah. Well, speaking of stories, every one of these guys, we're going to record a podcast with them over the next couple days. They don't know they're finalists yet. I did already record Josh's story. So Josh's story is out on the last Hunt League podcast. So if you want to hear Josh's story, he does have an awesome roller coaster ride. Super aggressive. They're out there doing like the elk nut, Michael Batiste stuff, like, or no, who is it? Is he elk nut?
It's the elk
No.
nut. No, it's the elk nut.
Yeah.
Paul
Uh, that's right. I'm like, I knew as soon as I said that. I'm like, that was Elk Calling Academy. I just screwed that up.
Yeah, Mike is
But
the elk.
yeah, Paul, running the breeding sequence, all that stuff. So there's a lot of great golden nuggets that you can hear inside Josh's story. But, guys that don't live in Wyoming went and did a non-res hunt. Pretty cool story. So excited for you to hear all three of these guys. So again, James from Oregon, Wally from Colorado, and Joshua from Idaho. So super excited to have them as our three finalists. Stay tuned because now it's a matter. Now the hard part actually begins because now I got to get the judges panel and the finalists all to figure out a time that works for everybody to get on and do our thing. So that's going to be the next big hurdle. So stay tuned. We'll give you guys the date that we will announce the winner for this. But it's not just going to be the winner for the Sweet September League because, like a lot of our big finales, we'll use that time to announce some new leagues, some new sponsors, and some new things that are coming for Hunt League at the end of 2023, but going into 2024. So stay tuned. Garrett, thanks for jumping in, joining, helping announce the finalists for this. And again, congratulations to you on such an incredible season there on the Oregon coast. So, all right, Hunt League, we got our finalists. We're ready. Let's do this. Stay tuned. We'll finish this out here in just a couple weeks. Yeah, good luck to all of you.